Hello, and thank you for watching this weekly Ag Weather Update brought to you by the Farm Credit Associations of North Carolina. Our first map we're going to start off with today shows from March 20th through yesterday on April 10th the average temperature ranks by climate district. We've seen so much throughout this spring time period, these very brief warm-ups followed by more extended time periods of colder air. And it's been largely due to a pattern that's favored ridging either just off the coast or over parts of the southwest. We just continue to get our flow coming out of the northwest, and it comes over and hits the Carolinas. So we get these nice warm-ups, but at times they're then followed by frost events, and we continue to see that as we move forward here. Now, over that same time period, let's look back over the last couple of weeks. We've seen now a map that shows precipitation anomalies. So we're looking here at the percent of normal precipitation. And so far, 2022 is way above average on severe weather reports, about 170% of normal on tornadoes, on a lot of severe winds, and a lot of that's hit part of the southeast, and it's gotten into North Carolina, but South Carolina to Georgia has been really taking a beating as of late. Now, the map we're looking at here, again, though, is the percent of normal precipitation. Just shows you how wet it's been in parts of the southeast. But there are pockets throughout North Carolina, again in Virginia, that have been drier as of late. But I just want to keep your attention on the one area that I'm very concerned about going forward, and that is going to be the plains. So this is an area that has just continued to see drought expand all the way from parts of western Texas through Kansas and Nebraska. And throughout the west, the drought continues to get worse and worse as California is having its driest start to any year on record. Now, for those that are concerned about corn and soybeans, planting progress throughout the eastern Corn Belt has been very slow. There's been places that have been just too wet, and even where you see this drier swath through Indiana and Ohio, there's been too many frost events that have come through to kind of slow things down. And the west, again, has been so windy and so dry that we've just not made any early season progress. Down here across the lower Mississippi River Valley, that'd be an area that we normally plant very quickly. They've been seeing delays due to too frequent of precipitation events followed by, of course, shots of colder air. And that's been the struggle we've seen throughout the beginning of the spring. Now, over the next 10 days, we have two big systems we're going to keep an eye on. And yeah, it's great to see moisture coming back to Oregon and California, two places that desperately need it, at least in the northern parts of California. But take a look at where the precipitation is missing. Oops, there we go. This area right in through here where we have the extensive drought, these next two systems are forming too far to the north or too far to the east. So once again, we're going to see delays here. Big snows on the back side of this. I mean, some folks up here could get up to 24 inches of snow out of this next system. But the bigger picture here is that this very active spring pattern is continuing to cause, or it's continuing to make worse the problems that we've seen as of late. Now, what are we going to be seeing here in North Carolina out of this? Let's get to a discussion about that. First, bigger picture things. Our problem has been getting sustained warmth, right? And as we look out there after this very active next 5 to 7 days, the temperature pattern is really going to favor a big shot at colder air coming in from this direction. So from April 16th, that would be this Saturday through the 26th. That would be the Tuesday following, not the immediate Tuesday, but the Tuesday after that, the 26th. We're going to be seeing some pretty chilly air getting let out. And I'm afraid that's going to give us a late frost risk in parts of western North Carolina. Now, I don't have the details on that yet. No one really does. We're just looking here at the overall pattern. But the question I have is, when do we break over toward warmth, right? So that's the thing I'm going to focus on in North Carolina. When do we break over toward warm? And then again, what does the longer range stuff hold for us? So let's get into a discussion about that. The issue is actually tucked away in this graphic. And it's a complicated one to look at. But this is the equator. And this goes to 60 degrees north. So that's the northern hemisphere. And each time we've seen a pulse in the Pacific jet stream behavior, we've had a severe weather outbreak. They've been coming about once a week. Have you noticed that? But see how slow the winds are to the south of that in the subtropics? This is all telling me what's going on with La Nina. And this is critical because the models want to fade it. They want to get rid of it. They really want to just see it end quickly. And every time they do, we get a different signal. For example, the MJO keeps getting forecast to come way out here into the western Pacific. Can't do that if La Nina is strengthening. So what happened with the latest forecast? Curls right back around and likely stays somewhere on this side of the diagram. That's very typical of La Nina. And because of that, look at what the forecast shows in terms of precipitation from mid-April to mid-May. It's basically just a carbon copy of what we've been seeing, right? So that keeps us active. That keeps us wetter than normal. That keeps the plains drier than normal. It keeps California drier than normal. And this is just one of those setups that doesn't change the way things have been. And the reason why that is because of this La Nina. So as of April 9th, you're looking at sea surface temperatures, and we continue to see stronger trade winds in this area. Continues to feed the colder water here. We keep the colder water in our what we call our PDO region, negative PDO signal right now. That's where this cold water along the west coast and it links up with the La Nina signature down here. So in some of the long-range forecasts that were just released lately, we've had a discussion over the last week. If you kind of subscribe to my daily reports or watch my other videos, we've just been talking about what this means, and I want to review that with you today in case you've missed that. So, newest update from the ECMWF shows that when you look at ocean temperatures, this being average, and we're looking at here what we call Nino region 3.4. That's right here in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, roughly in that box, okay? We see that the new forecast, if you average all these ensemble members, still keeps the temperatures below average. And that tells me that we're not going to make this fast recovery to get, like we did last year, by the way, but this fast recovery to get into even neutral or El Nino conditions. The European model keeps kind of bowing down, I guess, if you will. It keeps kind of moving toward the U.S. model solution, which has been to keep something more like this, which would be a moderate strength La Nina through spring, summer, and even in early next fall. Now what this looks like, if we just take a look at ocean temperatures, that means by June, we still have the colder water here. And what's important about this is what this does to where we have drought risk in the United States, which I'm going to show you next. But we're going to talk about hurricanes too, and you still see a lot of warm water in the North Atlantic. As we go forward into July and August and September, what I'm going to keep a close eye on is not only those North Atlantic temperatures and, of course, La Nina, but do we really remove the cold water that was sitting here where I just kind of drew that jagged line? I think that's going to be critical. So to make this a case, let's just take this back to the beginning and go to a U.S. view, and I'd like to now show you precipitation stats on kind of a 3-month time scale. So I don't think it's any surprise for you all to see that the latest European model forecast says April, May, and June, for kind of east of the Mississippi River, we see active systems. We see risk of above average precipitation, more severe weather, whereas plains likely from the drought from the plains to the Great Basin. Now let's slide this forward, going into May, June, July, August, and July, August, September. Did you see what I saw there? Keeps this area very active. We're going to talk about hurricanes in a few moments. Active southwestern monsoon. That must mean that we're planting some sort of a big ridge here, and the flow is going around it like this. Now, ridges here don't really hinder tropical systems that like to come in like this, which means we're going to be talking about those tropical systems and where they might possibly be going as we get through this forecast. So this is the newest from the European model. Of course, where they've got the heat, they've also got the above average temperatures. If you look at the seasonal temperature anomalies, we're not seeing major deviations from normal for us in the models, but we are seeing it for the Central Plains. Now, I want to make one thing very clear about this. These long-range models are speculative. They're based off of just a few parameters. When you average out all the different fluctuations in them, it boils down to really a correlation with ocean temperatures. And ocean temperatures can change. So this is what I want you to watch carefully with me, okay? 2 things. If this La Nina fades, like let's just say the model's got it wrong, and it does fade, and fades quickly, that removes drought risk for most of the United States. If at the same time this swath of colder water here has this warmer water intrude upon it, the drought risk goes from the midsection of the country back west again. And we already have extensive drought across the west. I mean, California dryest start to any year on record. The Great Basin through Montana, back down to western Texas, deep in drought. I know you've seen the drought monitor. So we just look at all of this and we say the what ifs. The what ifs deal with the ocean temperatures here and here. That's what we got to keep a close eye on. But right now, I don't have any models that are suggesting that's going to happen. So to take you to one of my favorite websites from the Climate Prediction Center, it's the NMME forecast, National Multi-Model Ensemble. You see that. Let's go out to Season 2 Global SSTs. June, July, August. Look at what the NMME does. It keeps the La Nina around with the warmth in the North Atlantic. Let's go back and have another look at a different parameter. How about precipitation rate in summer? Where is it keeping the driest conditions? Here. It's got this region over by you, wetter. And this just has me concerned about the longer term implications of what this forecast could mean. Right now, just so you know, the risk of drought right here is about 60%. Midwest drought, Central Plains drought getting worse, 60% right now. So that's above average. It could change as we go through the months of April and into the month of May. That's going to be critical to watch. But what about those ocean temperatures in the North Atlantic and the risk of hurricanes? Well, late last week, Colorado State University, which releases this phenomenal forecast every year, of hurricane activity. Because of the La Nina, which reduces wind shear in the Atlantic, and because of the warm ocean temperatures and other factors, you can read all about it, and I highly recommend you do. Just Google CSU tropical forecast and you'll find it. But you can see here that they're predicting 19 named systems with an average of around 14 to 15, so above average there. In fact, every category, they're above normal. So they're just seeing that all these things are playing together to give us risk. Now, right now, this week, we've got other risks. In fact, this morning I was watching some lightning strike data here, and of course it's to our west right now. But big storms are lighting up the midsection of the country and throughout the Ohio and lower Mississippi River Valley, and we got more of that coming. Take a look at our all hazards weather map. You just basically split the country in half, and you can see the west is dealing with winds, incredible winds, red flag warnings. That's a blizzard warning here. Winter storm watches, winter storm warnings. And so this big system's coming in. We're going to ask how long it's going to take to get over to us in the Carolinas. Now, our problem was the earliest when we had another frost advisory out. So we've seen the cooler air that's been in place. But if you take a look, the plains are going to continue to be dealing with wind that's causing major blowing dust and wildfire smoke because soil moisture values right there at 4 inches are still just incredibly low. All right, winds. Do they get to us? Doesn't seem as though they will by at least Wednesday. We stay relatively calm compared to the rest of the country in terms of wind speeds. We're going to be 60 to 70 miles an hour in the midsection of the United States. That severe weather risk today, let's shrink that up so you can see a little bit better, kind of stretches through parts of the Mid-South. That is the severe weather risk today. Here it is tomorrow on Tuesday and Wednesday. Now you start to see that progression east and you wonder, when is it going to get to North Carolina? But the reality of this is this system, as it curls up into like Ontario and Quebec, doesn't bring through the severe weather threat for us. So this is what we've got through mid-morning on Monday. Let's blow that up a little bit. There we go. Playing forward, we can see that we might start to see showers coming over the mountains tonight, and then possibly on Tuesday. See them coming through there on Tuesday afternoon. So that's our only risk out of this early system. But as this one curls up, blizzard warnings on the backside by Tuesday night, big squall line racing through the midsection of the country, and the system just sits there and spins over North Dakota, making for miserable conditions here. Now this plays out to midday on Wednesday. Let's let the European model take over from there. So the question is, when does this rain get to us? Well, there's Wednesday night into Thursday morning. We could get that front passing through us on Thursday, but this isn't as though it's bringing through a big area of organized severe weather. At least at this point, I don't have indications that it's going to. The frontal boundary's too weak. The wind shear profile's wrong. We don't have the instability. That's the least, at least what I can see right now from the models. But as that system goes from basically the high plains of Colorado, Nebraska, and Wyoming, takes 4 days to go from here to here. That's our problem. It's not one of those fast-moving systems. So as we go out there toward Friday into Saturday and Sunday, what I'm going to be watching on Easter weekend is another system coming through the midsection of the country. Could that one sweep through and give us issues? It could, but that would be Easter Monday that we're talking about. So my next video that I'll release to all of you will be talking about the potential for this system. So the pattern is active, and the reason why is there's so much momentum in that Pacific jet stream right here. And so as it just keeps rolling across, we're going to continue to see that. Now, precipitation-wise, let's see here. Monday into Tuesday, it's a small chance of some scattered precip Tuesday, but our real chance comes through as the front kind of weakly passes through on Thursday. See it there? So what we're looking at by Friday is, we may have some storms, but total precipitation throughout this week is not overly heavy across the state of North Carolina. All right. Now, beyond that, what about that next system? Let's just add it in. Now, that one could add something. That's early next week, Monday. That's what I'll keep an eye out for at that time frame. But you talk about folks that aren't going to get anything done. Look at this part of the Corn Belt through the lower Mississippi River Valley. Too much rain and a lot of severe weather. So we turn our discussion now to temperatures, and we'll finish up with South America in a moment. Looking over the next week at where we expect to see frosts, you take a look at this map, it doesn't look too bad. You can see the warm sector opening up out of that system. But as I showed you earlier, my bigger concern is right here, after it. What's coming after it? So let's come back and take a look here. Whoops, let's start here. High temperatures compared to normal. So today, approaching 80 in Raleigh. I mean, that's fantastic. There's Tuesday and Wednesday. Look at this cold air storing up here in the northern plains. So we're mild, very mild all week long. That's Wednesday into Thursday. When does the cold air get here? When the front passes Thursday, we go back down to what our normal temperatures are. But I told you it's a weaker front at this point. There's Saturday getting into Sunday. Now, you just notice that we get these warm temperatures earlier in the week. By the weekend, we see the temperature starting to knock back a bit, and you can see the cold air that's stored up here. Well, once you get out there day 5 through 10, that's when that starts to come out, so after Easter. And it lingers through Easter week. So this is the colder air that we talked about that's going to be sticking around. Let's go back and find that graphic again here. Where did I put it? There it is. That's going to be around. And I do believe we may have a frost risk at some point in and around Easter, or after Easter, excuse me, of kind of in western North Carolina. So I want to keep all of you aware of that. When did the temperatures just break away toward warm? Well, this is what it looks like for that week after Easter, and then watch. The models don't really want to see that yet. I don't see a breakaway from this La Nina hold on things, and that's why we don't see the major warm-up, like the 10 to 12 days of just beautiful warm weather, dry weather, perfect weather to get everything finished planting and go. So I'm going to be watching for changes possibly in this by mid-May, by the first week of May, and we'll see how it plays out through mid-May. But you've already seen that the models out that far are not really backing off on seeing above average precip. Now, this model will get updated tonight, and I'll show it to you all if you're subscribed to my morning reports. It'll be in the morning report tomorrow. I'll also be watching that for what we are expecting to see out of South America. So in the last month, we had seen drought develop here. I hit about 25% of the safrinha corn crop. In the last couple of weeks, that drought area expanded all the way over. Oops, let's try a different tool here. Expanded all the way over to Mato Grosso. And we now see that because the MJO is failing to get into the Pacific Ocean, that the newest model runs went back over aggressively more drier for Mato Grosso. It's late April we're getting through here, and the monsoon shuts down after this. So I got concerns on how this crop's going to finish. And I know the USDA came out with a bigger number last week. And if it's okay with you, I'm just going to say I don't fully buy it just yet. I need to see more information out of South America and what that crop looks like, because I've seen some drier conditions on it, and that may have impacted an important time period of the year for that crop as it pollinated and now goes into grain fill. All right, I'll keep you aware of all of this, and hope you all have a good week, and I'll talk to you again next week. Thank you.